Hey friends, I'm Cindy. My husband is Chris. We are CNC DIY Factory. It's Flippin Frenzy time, and on this trip we are going to beat the winter blues. Now, Flippin Frenzy is a collaboration within Sonnet's Garden Blooms membership group where a group of us creators send a box full of thrifted items to someone and they need to flip it into home decor, and it usually has a theme. These are the items I received from Janet, the Upcycled chemist, and I sent my flippin' box to Shelly at the Vintage Hen and Chick, and we are all packing our thrifted suitcases with our Flippin Frenzy thrift flips. In this flip, I am using the blue fabric and toile that Jen sent, and I'm ripping the fabric and cutting the toile into thin strips about 15 inches long. These two blue fabrics are so pretty and are perfect for what I have in mind, and the ice blue toile has little white splatters on it, which gives me a sense of snow falling. Now here in Texas, we don't get snow in the winter very often, so my thrifted suitcase is all about the snow as a little nod to the winter weather up north. When I saw these fabrics, I immediately thought of a salt shaker tassel, and I happen to have the perfect snowman salt shaker for this project in my stash. I need to make the hanger for this, so I am using a beaded snowman from the Christmas section at Hobby Lobby, which was also in my stash, but I need the bottom of it to have a loop, so I'm deconstructing the snowman and I'm adding in an eye pin and then reconstructing the snowman on this pin with the eye at the bottom. Now I'm going to be going through this pretty quickly here, but if you want a detailed video showing step-by-step instructions on how to create one of the salt shaker tassels, I will have the link in the description box below for you to watch later. Once I have the snowman back together, I will trim the eye pin to leave about a 1/4 inch sticking out, and then I'll use my round nose pliers to curl the pin into a loop. Then I will add a 6mm jump ring and then a 12mm jump ring to the very top. Now to make the tassel, I will take the strips of fabric and toile that are already cut and add 7 different ribbons cut at the same length to the pile. I try to use 2 strips of each, but I did add 6 strips of the ice blue toile. You can use as many or as few ribbons or strips of fabric as you like for the tassel. Then I'll stack all of the ribbons and fabric in a crisscross fashion, alternating each one. Now, some women have a shoe addiction or a handbag collection. I have a ribbon addiction. I just can't say no. Just ask Chris, he'll tell you. I found these ribbons at Michael's over the holiday season on sale, and he was with me, and all he could do was shake his head. Once I have the strip stacked up, then I'll take either an 18 gauge or a 20 gauge wire, and I'll cut it to about 14 inches long. Then I'll slip that under the pile of ribbons around the center mark and fold the wire up and secure it with a few twists using the flat part of the round nose pliers so as not to scratch the wire. Here's the snowman salt shaker that I thrifted in Wisconsin during the Vintage Soul Retreat, and it is perfect for this thrift flip. The long wire makes it easier to thread up through the bottom of the salt shaker and through the holes at the top. Then I'll twist the wires together and clip them to about 3/4 of an inch from the top, and I'll use my round nose pliers to roll each wire into loops as close to the top as I can get them. Then loop a second 12mm jump ring through the wire loops, add the snowman beaded topper, and close the jump ring. Now I just need to add another pretty ribbon to hang the salt shaker tassel, and this thrift flip has been flipped. For this thrift flip, I reached into my stash and I pulled out this bag of finials that I thrifted a while back. I chose 2 finials that seemed to fit the diameter of the hole in the top of the light shade that Jen sent to me in my Flippin box, and I need to decide which one looks the best with it. I like both of them, but I think the darker one will work the best, and I really like the height of the finial on top of the shade. I need to remove the screw that is in the bottom of this, so I tried to twist it out, but it would not budge, so I ended up cutting it off. To adhere the finial to the shade, I am using a mix of E6000 glue and hot glue. I added the E6000 around the inside rim of the shade and set the finial into the glue. Then I'll turn the shade upside down and add the hot glue to the inside of the shade to quickly secure the finial and allow the E6000 time to set. The E6000 is going to hold this long term. Now this would be great just as is, but I want to give this a little something something. I am adding a battery operated remote controlled tea light that I use in my Christmas decor. I want to be able to remove it and replace the battery, so I will use a metal disc with 3M adhesive and adhere that to the bottom of the tea light. I have a magnet that I bought to use with these metal discs that also has the 3M adhesive, but to make sure it stays in the shade, I am going to be using a little bit of hot glue and then setting the adhesive side of the magnet into the glue. Then I add the tea light into the inside of the shade, connecting the metal piece to the magnet, and voila! A quick and easy thrift flip with a soft light that would go with any decor to add a bit of ambiance for any vignette. In this thrift flip, I am using the embossed tin that Jen sent in the Flippin box. Now, because this is embossed, I need to camouflage that, and the best way I have found is by using salt wash. This is a texturizing additive used with paint, and I am using DIY Hay Sailor, which is a beautiful indigo blue. I add the paint to the cup, and then I add a little bit of the salt wash at a time and mix it in. I don't want a ton of texture, just enough to cover the embossing on the tin. If I add too much salt wash, I'll just add a little bit more paint. Be careful, you can get way too much added and have to use it on something else. But then I'll use an old chip brush and I'll stipple the paint and salt wash mixture over the sides of the tin and around the edge of the lid. For the bottom of the tin, I'll just use paint to cover that. I did end up applying 2 coats of the Hay Sailor and salt wash mixture for full coverage. Then I'll set it off to the side to dry, or I'll use my heat gun to speed up the process. Now on the lid, I only want to go around the outside edge with the Hay Sailor and salt wash mixture. And I'll apply 2 coats here as well. For the inside area of the lid, I am mixing up the salt wash with DIY White Swan. And I will add 1 coat of this over the lid and then let that dry very thoroughly. Now, once salt wash has set, it is like cement and it's perfect for metal surfaces. With just a little bit of the salt wash, the embossing is no longer noticeable, and as you saw, I used very little product to create the perfect camouflage. Have you seen Connie Lines and Designs rice paper? Connie from the Painted Photographer draws and paints her own designs and turns them into rice papers that you can use in your decor. This snowman is called Snowy Man, and it's perfect for this thrift flip. I need to fit this to the top of the tin, so I am using a water pen and the water tear method. I love the water pen because it's so easy. All you have to do is give it a little squeeze and the water flows out through the bristles. Or you could use a paintbrush and some water and get the same effect. I've just had these water pens since back in the day when I scrapbooked all of my family's activities. If you are curious about the different designs that Connie Lines and Designs offer, you can check my website at cncdiyfactory.com. Now, some of them are out of stock, but I should be receiving a new shipment this week, and I will have the website updated. Also, the spring 2026 release is coming soon, so definitely stay tuned for that because it's really good. My favorite decoupage medium when working with rice paper is the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. It has a thick consistency that doesn't soak into the surface, and it really grabs onto the rice paper for good adhesion. Now, normally I do not spritz my rice paper with water, but because the surface is textured, I want to make sure that the fibers in the rice paper are relaxed and it settles down into all of the grooves and valleys of the salt wash texture for the best adhesion and to avoid any air bubbles. When decoupaging, I start by securing one side of the rice paper to my surface with a strip of the decoupage medium. Then for this, I'll spritz the paper with water and smooth it down with my paintbrush, adding more gel over the top of the paper while I'm smoothing it down. Then I'll work my way across the surface until I have the entire paper adhered. When the paper has completely dried, I want to go around the edges and feather them in so they are not so noticeable. I will use a stencil brush and the Hey Sailor DIY paint, and using a paper towel, I dab off the excess paint, then I'll stipple the paint around the edges of the rice paper. This gives the piece a finished look and it helps to frame in Snowy Man. After everything is completely dry, I will add a top coat to both the bottom piece of the tin and the top piece. I am using DIY Big Top for my sealer. The DIY paint is clay-based and it needs to be sealed in or it can be reactivated with moisture. Once the Big Top has dried, this thrift flip is ready to be added to our thrifted suitcase. Okay, let's see how I styled my Flippin Frenzy thrift flips. I started with the snowman quilt that I pieced and quilted 21 years ago in January of 2005. And gosh, it seems like yesterday. I love the different blues in this quilt with pops of red and green for a colorful background. Then I added in the thrift flip snowman tassel, the light shade with the finial and tea light, and then the Snowy Man tin. I needed to pull in some brown to coordinate with the quilt and the finial, so I took the wood snowflake that Jen had included in the Flippin' box and added that to the vignette. It was perfect just the way it was. I also took the remaining ice blue toile and cut it down the center lengthwise and laced up a pair of ice skates that I actually purchased on Whatnot from the Painted Photographer. I added in some of my own snowman and ice skate decor pieces that I created and use in my personal decor every year. I love this little area by our front door. It may not snow here, and that's okay with me, but now I have my own special way to beat the winter blues. If you love these projects and how I styled my thrifted suitcase to beat the winter blues, and you want to see how other makers beat the winter blues, be sure to check out the Flippin Frenzy playlist linked below. Don't forget to tell me in the comments which detail was your favorite, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for joining me on this Flippin Frenzy. If you found this video inspiring, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Thank you so much for spending time creating with me. Keep practicing random acts of crafting, and I'll see you in the next DIY. But until then, here are some more DIY videos to inspire your creativity. Bye for now.